Alright, last time I ran out of time at the bar part of the solo. So I said that you put your ring finger on the 17th fret of the D string, you bar with a bend on the 15th fret of the G and B strings, and you play the D string fret twice, and then you go up to the chord. You do that 3 times. And then you put your ring finger down on the 17th fret of the same set of strings. And then I pulled off. And you do it again. And you play that second chord twice this time. And back to the first one. And then you do 18 to hammer onto the 20th fret on the B string, and each time you hit the 18th fret you have to strum it. And then you go back to the darkest speed riff. How you get into that is you do the 3rd fret of the E string, and then 5th fret, 4th fret, 3rd fret of the A string. And then you do that again, that 5th to the 4th to the 3rd. And then for this next solo, you start on with, well, what I did was I put a bar over the 7th fret of the G and B strings, and my middle finger went down on the 8th fret. You can also do a bar, a bend on this, but I don't like that, so what I did was you strum this twice, and then you go from the 7th fret, you hammer on, you hammer on from the 7th to the 8th to the 9th, and then to the 7th fret on the G string. And then you go from the 5th fret of the E string, and what I did was I did the 8th fret, and then I slid up to the 10th fret, and then went back down to the 5th fret of the B string. And then for the descent things you do a pull off on the high E string from the 7th to the 5th fret, and then 8th fret of the B string, and then 5th fret of the E string, and then pull off from the 8th fret to the 7th fret, and then hammer on back to the 8th fret on the B string. And then just put your first finger down on the 5th fret while keeping these 2 fingers in the same spot. And you do that. And then you pull off from the 7th fret to the 5th fret to the 7th fret on the G string, and then 5th fret of the B string. And then you do that again. But then after that, you move your fingers up so that your pinky's on the 8th fret of the E string, ring fingers on the 7th fret of the E string, and your first fingers on the 5th fret of the E string. And then you do the first one. And then you do it again. So the basic pattern is first time you do it the normal way. And the second time you go up. And the third time it's the normal pattern. And then the 4th time, this is the last time, you go all the way down, so. Normally you stop there, but now you're going to go down to the G string and do a pull off, then hammer on from the 7th fret to the 6th fret back to the 7th fret. And then you're going to go from the 7th fret to pull off to the 6th, to pull off to the 7th, then back to the 6th, and then 6, pull off 4, and then use your pinky on the D string of the 7th fret, and then the last one is 4th fret, pull off on the G string, 4th fret, pull off to the 2nd fret to open to the 2nd fret, and then you go back to darkest room. And then these things, they're really easy. You just make a power chord for the first one. You make a power chord on with your first finger on the 3rd fret of the E string, and you play the E string 2 times, and then the whole power chord. You do that 4 times. You do that twice, the whole thing. And then after that, it's another power chord, but this time your first finger's on the 1st fret of the E string. Back to this. And then back to this. And then back to the first one. And then you do this one more time. And then the ending thing is the chord with your first finger on the 2nd fret of the A string and open E string, and you play it 5 times twice, like that, and that's the end of the song. So I hope you liked it, and please rate and comment on it.